Aujourd'hui, nous allons traiter les pronoms relatifs. Today, we are going to be looking at relative pronouns. What are relative pronouns? Relative pronouns introduce information which qualifies the noun or noun phrase in the main clause of a sentence. They serve as the subject or object of the verb in the relative clause. So, here is an example. J'ai vu la voiture que tu as achetée. I saw the car that you bought. So in this sentence, we have the relative pronoun que. We have the main clause, and then we have the relative clause. So this is the main clause, good and fine. In this main clause, we have the object, voiture. Voiture is object of the verb to see, voir, in this place expressed as view. This relative clause here provides us with information about the object in the main clause. Now let's go back to our definition. Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns introduce information which qualifies the noun or noun phrase. Now, look at the main clause, good and fine. J'ai vu la voiture. Can we have more information about this voiture? Yes. So this extra information on the right in red is introduced by que. Que is the joiner. It joins the two parts of the sentences together. It is the ushering word here, if I might say. It is the word that introduces us to this extra information at the right. Que. So this is what a pronoun does. A relative pronoun introduces information which qualifies the noun or noun phrase in the main clause of a sentence. They also serve as the subject or object of the verb in the relative clause. So in this case, que is object of the verb avoir because it answers the question what. Tu as acheté quoi? Tu as acheté this. So que is the object in this relative clause. This que can be said to be standing on behalf of voiture because you don't have to repeat voiture in this subsequent part of the sentence. Okay, right now we're going to be looking at the relative pronouns one after the other. Okay, there are two classes of relative pronouns. We have the invariable pronouns and the variable pronouns. So here are the invariable pronouns. Qui, then ku, then dong. This N is silent, and then u. So now let's start with qui. Qui serves as the subject of the verb in the relative clause. By serving as the subject, it means that it is the one executing the verb in the relative clause. It can also serve as the indirect object after a preposition. That is to say that it is the object receiving the action. Finally, when used as a relative pronoun, qui doesn't always mean who. It could also mean that. Now here is an example. J'ai un chien qui déteste les chats. I have a dog who hates cats. We're going to divide this sentence into two parts. So we have here the main clause and here the relative clause. So the first sentence, j'ai un chien. The object of this main clause is chien. I have what? I have a dog. So this chien, we don't really know much about it. This extra information at the right about the dog is ushered in by qui. So this is one of the roles, the functions of a relative pronoun. Relative pronouns usher in information about the object in the main clause. Qui always functions as a subject most of the times in the relative clause. In this relative clause, qui is the subject of the verb detest. By subject, I mean it is the one carrying out this verb. So now, on the second example, j'irai l'an prochain à la université qui propose la meilleure formation. So we have the main part of the sentence, something I'll call the main clause. And then we have the relative clause. The first part, j'irai l'an prochain à la université. Second part, qui propose la meilleure formation. So we all know that the relative clause contains info about the object in the main clause. The relative clause is this, qui propose la meilleure formation. It contains information about the main clause, particularly the object in the main clause. The relative clause is trying to qualify this noun, university. The information here is ushered in by qui, the relative pronoun. Finally, you should take note that qui is the subject of this relative clause. That is to say that it is the one carrying out the verb. The verb here is propose, la verb proposer, to propose something or to offer something. And here it is acting as the subject. The extra information about the object in the main clause is ushered in by the relative pronoun qui, and also qui is functioning as the subject in the relative clause because it is the one carrying out this verb. So here we have
le cours qui est le plus apprécié est celui de Monsieur Louis.
The course which is the most appreciated is that of Mr. Louis. So we have the noun phrase and then we have the subsequent part of the sentence which gives us more information about the le cours. The info that we are going to see about the le cours is ushered in by qui, the relative pronoun. Qui is also serving as a subject in this relative clause. As I mentioned there, subject in the sense that qui is the subject of the verb. It is the one carrying out this verb, être. Next example. So we have the main part of the sentence, the main clause actually, and then we have the relative clause which provides us with information about the main clause. Le livre qui est sur la table est très intéressant. The book which is on the table is very interesting. So already we've divided the sentence, le livre and qui est sur la table est très intéressant. So what does this subsequent part of the sentence provide us with? What does the relative clause provide us with? It tells us that the book we're talking about is on the table and it is very interesting. Also, this extra information is ushered in by qui. Finally, qui is serving as the subject in this relative clause, this subsequent part of the sentence. Next example. Remember that I said that qui serves as the indirect object after a preposition. Indirect object after a preposition. You know what a preposition is? We have the a, avec, the. But in this case, we'll be working with a because most times this is what is tenable. Most of the sentences you will see where qui is serving as an indirect object, it is always or most times it is being done with a. So let's look at this example. Ma sœur, à qui je pense, vient de déménager en France. My sister that I'm thinking about just moved to France. So we have the main part of this sentence, ma sœur, that is the object in the main clause. And then we have the follow-up statement, something I'll call the relative clause. So this relative clause provides us with more information about ma sœur. This extra information is ushered in by a qui. So look at a here. A is the preposition. Now let's go back to the left side here. Qui serves as the indirect object after a preposition. So in this instance, qui is not functioning as a subject. Rather, it is functioning as an indirect object because the verb here, penser, is being carried at it. The verb penser is directional in this sense, and the verb is geared at qui. As a subject, qui carries out the verb, but in this case, the verb is being carried out on qui, as we've seen here. Ma sœur, à qui je pense? Je pense à quoi? Je pense à ma sœur. I'm thinking of my sister. You get it? So that is that for qui. In the next class, we'll be looking at que.